Now the story, or the curtain I guess I should say, comes up somewhere in a lonely desert village, somewhere in the Middle East. I don't know where. And it begins only a few months, maybe a year, I don't know, but not too many months after the birth of Jesus. And what it does is, as you're there, it focuses on this really a hut or a hovel in which this very poor family lives. And the poor family is not made up of really much of anything except a mother and her little boy, Amal. And so the story is about Amal and the relationship that he has with his mother and some eventful things that happen in that particular evening. Amal's an interesting little lad, and I want to tell you about Amal in just a minute. Amal he's got a problem. The problem that he has, among other things, but he's got one particular problem that seems to stand out and get in his way from being a mobile person and from getting around and from being an active little boy, okay? And that is that he's a cripple. And I know that's not a politically correct word to say, but that's in fact what the little guy is. And not only that, he is so crippled that he can't walk by himself. I mean, he can't stumble along. He needs help, and so what he needs a crutch. And he also needs a crutch that would look something like this, because he was a little shepherd boy too. And so little Amal, they didn't have anything. I guess he'd go out, and so he was crippled. And then in the opera, he's always kind of walking around like this. I mean, it's severe. So he's got this crutch, and he's also got another little problem that he has, aside from being physically disadvantaged. Little Amal also has a terrible tendency to tell exaggerated stories, tall tales. Now, he's not old enough to be a liar. That's something you become when you get older. But he's just a little guy, and he tells tall tales. And I suppose we all know people who exaggerate and tell stories or embellish things so that people will think more of them. I suppose everybody has known people like that, and they just seem to, and as a result, you don't know what's true and what isn't, only that they make it bigger and greater and grander, and this is what little Amal does, and he does this to gain attention and to gain favor, and so he fabricates things all the time, and as a result, it's really difficult to know when Amal is being truthful. And again, he's not a liar, but he's just a little funny guy, and he exaggerates things, okay? And that's okay. That's okay. The other dynamic in the story is, aside from being very, very poor, and obviously not having a father and somebody who can provide for them, Amal and his mother being therefore extremely poor, the only thing that he has to look forward to is to become a beggar. And his mother, as you go throughout the play, is just really horrified, and her heart is broken that her little boy might become a beggar. So that's the setting, and it's on a starry night, and it really is. And they're out here in the fringes of the desert, in a lowly hovel almost, at the edge of a village. And it's important that you understand all that. And they have nothing. Well, as it happens, it comes to pass that there's a knock on the door. And the mother says, Amal, will you go to the door and tell me who's there? So he goes, okay, mother. is funny. What is it, Amal? It's a king. She says, Amal, quit your exaggerating. Go back and tell me what it is.
He opens the door.
Mama? Yes, Amal. Now you tell me the truth. You're right, Mother. It wasn't a king. It was 2 kings. Well, she's pretty exasperated. She says, Amal, you go back and whatever she does. So, and she's about had it with him. He's beside himself because it's true there are 2 kings. He goes back. Okay. He goes back.
Opens the door.
Comes back. What does he say, Alexander? You're right, Mom. It wasn't 1 king. It wasn't 2 kings. It was 3 kings. Well, she just is apoplectic. That means very confused. And she's beside herself. Well, what she does, she goes to the door, and sure enough, there are the 3 kings of what? Orient. The Magi. And they don't have any place to stay. And so they come, as it turns out, to this little hovel, and they're trying to find a place to spend the night. Well, they don't have much, but as is the custom, it's imperative that when somebody in the desert comes to your home, you have to give them food and shelter. So they have nothing, scraps of food, but they offer that to the 3 kings. And in the process, they start talking about where they're going, and the 3 kings say, well, we're going to wherever because the Christ child has been born, and we're going to go take our presents. Oh, really? So this kind of perks up Amal, and he talks, I think it's Melchior, and he says, what do you have? He says, and you're right on this, Chuck, I'm glad of this. He said, well, I don't have it. But he says, well, what do you have here? He says, well, this is my box. Now, remember that song? Do you want me to sing it, Chuck? No? I'm going to anyways. He goes, ready? This is my box. This is my box. And what is inside my box? And what is it? Ready? Buttons. And that's what he does. And so the little boy gets to know the 3 wise men and the 3 kings. And it's absolutely sweet in how they sing these songs, and the neighbors get involved and everything like this. And then they also find out, the mother does, that there's gold. And she looks at her son, and her son is crippled, and she looks at herself, and she has nothing. And so what she does is she steals some of the gold. And the king's page, or squire, whatever he is, finds that out, and he's beside himself, and so he starts to attack the mother, and Amal gets up, and he's just a crippled little guy, and he tries to fight, but he can't. Of course, he's just a little fella, and he's knocked around quite a bit, and it's just a terrible, terrible bunch of confusion. And the mother is deeply humiliated, Amal is humiliated, the wise men are perplexed, and in talking to the mother, what they discover is that she has nothing. And Melchior figures out that she might as well keep the gold because the Christ child really is not interested in things.